Our topic today is the power of thoughts and beliefs. Where do they come from? How do they impact your life? And can you change them? Stick with us to the end of the video for ideas on how to shift those energies to be more in line with your highest and best. And of course, a new tarot spread. So let's start the conversation.
Hey, Mystics. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Susie Parker Goins.
I'm Lisa Stewart.
And I'm Kai Bertrand. Welcome to the Mystic Mosaic Podcast. We're here to help clarify, illuminate, normalize, and encourage you as you develop your gifts so you can confidently build a sustainable lifestyle for you, your family, and even your career.
We're providing information to you to use as a launching point for your own spiritual journey. We're not doctors. We won't be giving medical advice or free readings. Our discussion is for educational purposes only.
So today we're talking about beliefs. What does that mean? Well, beliefs are something that are true for you. It anchors you in a particular position. It gives you a place from which to start. It can be a legacy. They also provide you a path to follow in your life.
Where do they come from? In many cases, it's conditioning through your family, your community, media, and even your culture. There's an overall community in the United States called Ocean. It's a personality inventory that suggests different personality styles in accordance to the region of the United States. It's a US personality chart, and we'll provide a link in the description box. But it's fascinating because in many cases, you've got all of these layers that begin to build the conditioning and gaslighting structure into conforming you into being that person that your community wants you to be. There's also indoctrination, right? Through religion, schools and institutions, and even industry. The beauty industry is a huge one for this. It's one of the largest champions of not good enough or not pretty enough. They indoctrinate us all through TV ads, print ads, web ads. It's the opposite belief of beauty, as in you'll be beautiful when you use this product. Have you two witnessed or heard or been indoctrinated by any of these?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the media is rife with those. If you have this, you'll be sexy, or if you do this, you'll be strong. There is a tendency to believe that women are the only ones who are indoctrinated this way, like that whole Southern, this is what you're set out to do. You're here to get married and have babies. And those who don't do that, then something's wrong with them. Men are subjected to that too. A neighbor kid was crying once and his dad told him to suck it up. And that is a belief that he passed on. So that's part of that legacy aspect. You have to suck it up. And we're at a time now where we are exploding a lot of those beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Kai, what's your experience?
Well, I think we all have been shaped by beliefs in terms of culture because I mean, where you grow up always has its own culture. It's like the culture of your family, the culture of your friends, the culture of your city, your state, your ethnic identity. All of that has like rules and regulations that go into creating beliefs like, well, I believe that you're supposed to act this way in this situation. Like in this situation, this is what you do. That becomes a belief, and um and allows you to, it's kind of like it gives you a blueprint of what to do and how to act in certain situations. They're basically like mores is what they're called. But yeah, you get that from anything, everything. Like, because as kids, especially, we're sponges, right? We take it all in,
Right.
and then we go, okay, well, this is maybe this is that, and we categorize everything, and then more often than not, we find ourselves wanting, or lacking in some way. And so sometimes the beliefs can be negative and toxic, and to the point where it gets like really extreme. So
Mhm.
we can, instances of like genocide of complete groups, and promotes xenophobia, fosters fear, anger, and hostility,
Mhm.
and it feeds into misunderstandings and, you know the classic phrase is like, something that I don't understand, I must fear it
Right.
because it must be a threat.
Mhm.
That is a belief that a lot of people have that they might not even be aware that they do.
Yeah.
But of course, beliefs also have a positive effect as well.
Yeah, I think that some beliefs are actually supportive. Um, on the other side of the coin, if I don't understand it, for me, it's let me see what I can do to learn more about it. That's my belief that I'm not the only one in the universe. Here's the universe, there, okay, whatever. That is, it can be a moral compass, which in and of itself, I don't like that phrase, but it can give you a direction for how to move forward in your life, like treating everybody with respect. That takes that core belief that everyone is the same, that we are all equal. That's being usurped quite a bit by these negative beliefs, racism. Ugh. It's also an anchor for action. When you hold a belief in such a way that it informs what you do, so treating people with that kindness, opening up and accepting other options. Also, one of my beliefs is where I direct my energy is what happens. That's the outcome. So a positive belief system can lead to positive outcomes.
Mhm.
If you believe you're not worthy of abundance or wealth or good things, then no, you're not going to experience them. The more you focus on your energy on increasing abundance, expanding your definition of abundance, then yeah, you will find more abundance with you. Same thing with self-esteem. I tell the story, I love my right ankle. Then I worked from there and I was able to shift my belief that my body was something bleh. It was just a meat suit. Like, is that what you call it, Lisa? A meat sack, meat suit?
Meat soup.
Cracks me up. Meat suit, yeah. And then you can expand your worldview from there. And it's going to be those changes in basic beliefs to be such a way that we can, in fact, impact the world in a positive way and shift it for the better. They add a different balance to your life. So
Yeah, I
there
think
are, go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to say the limiting beliefs can be very restrictive. Going back to that anchor analogy, they can definitely prevent you from experiencing life to the fullest. Definitely. And I also know
Mhm.
that a lot of these do come from fear, and fear, going back to where it stems from, is typically fostered by family, other people, friends, and sometimes even your own experiences. But yeah.
Yeah, so what we're going to do now is roll into how to identify limiting beliefs. And how you do that is actually pretty simple. Think about how you feel about something, and using specific words, test how you feel about things like money, love, evil, safety. You
Mhm.
might have a belief that being rich isn't safe for you. And I know that seems like really crazy, but at one point, people who were different, or at any point in time, including now, if you're different, that's not good. So if you
Mhm.
were too much of this, or had enough, more than enough of that, or you were too whatever it was,
Mhm.
that was a position that could get you hurt, killed,
Mhm.
attacked, whatever. So, there is a possibility that things have happened to you in a past life that you carried that fear that turned into a belief in this lifetime. Like, I've known people who were like, I don't like water. I won't go swimming ever again. And then when they looked into it, it was because in the past life they were drowned. Makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. But that is a belief that came through that has nothing to do with this lifetime, but still affects this lifetime.
Mhm.
So ask yourself, where did it come from? And is this belief still worthwhile? Like, does it still apply?
Right.
Because if it doesn't apply to your current circumstances, then it's time to get rid of it. How does it feel in your body? How do you react emotionally to it? Is it like a trigger for you? Like, somebody will say something, and that like immediately like puts you on alert, like throws off your whole energy system. It's like that means like literally somebody is standing on a belief that you have.
Mhm.
And so you need to pay attention to that, especially if you're triggered.
Yeah. Definitely. It's interesting because limiting beliefs stem from the same place in that it is your brain's desire to protect you from pain in the future. And these triggers can include fear, imposter syndrome, and past experiences. Susie?
So it feels to me as we're talking that trauma can really establish a lot of the beliefs we have.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah, they
talking about
can.
rewiring ourselves and fear as a result. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And whether you've had a painful experience that caused you to feel similar encounters or you're scared of what's to come, limiting beliefs can prevent positive new beliefs from forming. And, through triggering, it can come through fear, like the unknown consequences and feeling unsafe. That's being vulnerable and at risk of being hurt. And I know, Kai, that you had some things to share about that.
Yeah, it's like, I just want to tell a quick story about a client that I worked with not that long ago. And she actually works a lot with beliefs. And through our conversation, she realized that she had to come to the realization that she had never really felt safe her entire life. And safety doesn't necessarily always apply to physical safety. It also applies to emotional safety as well and mental safety, because sometimes you might say your opinion about something and then you get shut down. So basically, what that does is that creates a trigger for you that, like, it's not safe for me to speak my mind. It's not safe for me to share my thoughts. It's not safe for me to feel however I feel. And a lot of times because we've incorporated those things so deeply into who we are and what we do that we don't even realize we're doing it anymore. So that's one of the things that when you're checking yourself for beliefs, definitely check for if it's like if it's triggered by fear or if there's a problem with safety, because I promise you it will come up because everybody's got it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Everybody does have it. Even Mother Teresa had it. And I want to just briefly talk on shame and guilt. There's a difference, but I feel that going through, as I've grown, I have experienced and been triggered through effects of shaming and guilt, and really had to work through that and deconstruct that to figure out, where is this shame coming from? So for instance, shame is a negative self-evaluation and guilt is one's responsibility for, exhibiting a harmful behavior or an even attitude. And so when you understand the differences between those two, then it's a matter of really understanding, where is this shame coming from? Is it mine or is it somebody else's? And then when you can understand and delineate between the two, then you can go, okay, not my circus, not my monkeys. I can move on with this. So
We talked a little bit about how the brain is rewired with beliefs and how breaking these old beliefs into establishing new ones, that's part of trauma training. It's rewiring your brain. That's where some of these beliefs are stored. Based on your experience, you're going to store beliefs or the impact of them in a variety of systems, like in your energy system. That somebody can read auras and they'll say, oh, look, or working with Kai, she's helped me identify a lot of attachments that have clung to me. And that was a belief that I have been able to let go of. Another one just occurred to me. It's like my religious upbringing told me that what I do now that fills my heart with such joy is an old belief. And I've been able to break that and shift that around. That's related to the guilt thing. You can also hold your beliefs like down into your DNA, into the body mechanism, because you're passing it down from family to family, from family member and all. And there are ways to work with that. Ancestral healing, whole nother podcast later on. But you are definitely impacted by your family's legacy to you. Like even there's genetics to alcoholism. Oh, everybody does that, or that's the way they cope. You can shift that and you can move forward with it. Your brain, I talked about that, how your brain gets rewired. and your heart, how you respond to other people. You can hold those beliefs deep down in your heart, whether it's positive or negative. Beliefs are held all over in all of your energy systems, but your heart is how you interact with other people. Do your beliefs, yeah, Kai, go.
Yeah, I just want to throw in one other point here is that
Yeah.
another place where it can be stored is literally in your gut.
Mhm.
You know, people always think
Yes.
like something happens and you feel that punch in your gut or you get butterflies in your stomach. Like that is a classic place where stuff can be stored that people don't think about.
Mhm.
So when you're focusing on the different areas where you think, well, maybe it's here, maybe it's there, and you're not really sure, like that's one of the first places I would check is check your midsection, check your gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the three brains. So you got your brain, you got your heart, and then you got your gut. So all of them circulate. So yeah, when you feel triggered, those are one of the three main areas you could actually, tap into.
Yeah. The body knows the answer. That's what is it? The body holds the score. The
Mhm.
body keeps the score. It's a good book about trauma and how it impacts the body. Um, so there's also the way your beliefs inform your reality.
Mhm.
So if you believe something to be, I don't know, you believe that all people who drive red cars are racy and stuff like that, then that's going to just be played out for you. If you shift that, when you shift those beliefs, it's going to shift a lot of things. That's going to shift your reality. So these ingrained thoughts and patterns that you've had installed in you, those labels that everybody does this or that those generalizations, it's going to become a habit with you. And these thoughts and patterns, from the family. Oh, they've always done that. Always and never are my least favorite words, to be honest.
Yeah.
Shh
I
is another. Yeah, Lisa.
Go ahead and finish your thought, Susie.
I kind of didn't have one at that point.
Yeah,
I
oh,
know.
Always, should, and never.
I
I was
know
I
just
don't
why
like
Kai
thinking,
was
those
laughing.
words.
I know
yeah.
why Kai was laughing, and I need to bring this up. Um,
Please.
BMW drivers, they are the worst drivers on the road,
Yes.
worldwide. They've done studies, and it's amazing. From a marketing standpoint, it's interesting to really get into the psyche of people and the cars that they drive, and how the cars that they choose to drive really matches their motivation and their outlook in life. And yeah, we watch one of our favorite guilty pleasures is a YouTube channel called Wham Bam Tesla Cam, and they make jokes about it. They're like, "Oh, look! Recently, there's a BMW driver who just ran into a Tesla, didn't use his blinker, didn't use his mirror. Oh, I guess those are optional for him. Why are we surprised?"
Obviously, we're not going to go fishing for BMW sponsorships now.
No, probably
No.
not. But no,
No,
actually,
no.
why I was laughing was like, I was thinking about the belief of the moon is made of cheese is what I was
Ah,
thinking of.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
if
not for
if
go ahead.
if our audience wants to understand the inside joke on that one, head over to MeWe to the panel called New Moon panel, which took place on Wednesday, November.
I don't know. That's 4 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago.
Day
It'll be
before
uploaded in
Christmas, or
time.
shit, day before the yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving,
Well, we don't want to say that word,
the unmentionable.
the
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Well, okay.
let me say
So
that
we can
again.
segue nicely into that last point I have is that the fact that somebody says beliefs can be entrenched by this is the way we've always done it. And I have just uploaded a light language questioning whether we've always done it this way is something we just let lie.
Mhm.
Yeah, it can be an anchor point, but
Mhm.
then you got to look at it and see, is it still valid? Because things change,
Right.
situations change. So you get to question those things. Hashtag growth is good. Hashtag no growth is good too.
Yeah. The one thing that growing up my dad instilled in me, which was reframing the word can't into can. He's like, we do not say the word can't around here. We don't say can't, we find ways that we can. Time and time again, I heard that. Unfortunately, there were times I heard from him that we can't. And so in some cases, there tends to be a disconnect, a double standard, or even cognitive dissonance. So be very careful when you're having those conversations with your friends and family. You know, they're teaching you one thing and they're doing another. So just know that's their stuff, not yours.
Talk about triggering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and
gosh.
what I discovered that happened for me is that when that disconnect would happen, I almost bought into it as a kid, right? Because as a sponge, as Kai said, we're a sponge, and so suddenly it was like I would condition myself into believing I couldn't do something. I didn't recognize this as a limiting belief, and then it kind of starts to get into the whole learned helplessness aspect, and that's a different podcast episode. But
And
just as a quick example, when corporate America and I parted ways, I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to share that story in the interviewing process. My former boss was a narcissist, so my self-worth was shot. Having said that, I formalized my freelance career because I believed in myself. The day I said yes to the job working with that particular former employer, I was a president of a current design organization, and I had 5 job offers in 1 week. So, you know, when you're working for a narcissist, it can be very disempowering, because then just one by one, they start taking and shredding your current beliefs and converting them into their own. So do be mindful of that.
Yeah. And to get into the next thing is, we're looking at active awareness. Listen to the thoughts you have about yourself. Think about the things that you've been repeating to yourself, that you've been told or you've seen in the media. Catch yourself when you're being vulnerable, and impressionable and repetitive, because that's what happens, right? We start watching TV and we're kind of phasing out, and our minds are just kind of in absorb mode. And we're watching this TV, and this 12-year-old is trying to sell us wrinkle cream, and we're not, and we, a lot of us, like, fall into that.
Mhm.
I was just watching this commercial not that long ago, and I used to be a modeling agent. I was a modeling agent for 2 years, so I knew all the tricks and how old people were and measurements and all that kind of stuff. And I'm watching this commercial that's on. It's a beautiful commercial, and I looked at the woman that they had in there, and I'm thinking she's probably about 17 years old, and they've dressed her up as if she's like, like an actual adult kind of thing. And they've got her in a skin tight uniform, but she's still got these, like, little girlish kind of actions going on. And I'm like, oh, this is disturbing on so many levels. And
Mhm.
but yeah, I was just like, I'm thinking, okay, so this is someone's image of perfection.
Yeah.
Like this super long-legged 17-year-old that has no idea what's happening, and just, but they're drowning her in jewels.
Yep.
And I thought, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to. And, in other words, like, social media, magazines, whatever it is, however you
Yes.
get your input,
Mhm.
like, be conscious of what is being shown to you, and really think about what that means in relation to you.
Right.
And remember, you are not them, and you don't need to be them.
Right. Question
Um,
everything.
yeah, so pay attention
That
to the
is,
thoughts you have surrounding something you want to change, especially,
Mhm.
and then that will actually kind of gear you towards looking for your beliefs. And and it's that whole process of starting to assess what you have is where you start.
Right.
yeah, you want to look to see if it's good for you or not. What do you need to change in order to be this ideal? And for me, it's like changing my beliefs about myself. Is it all focused on just the physical, or is there other stuff to do? And it's It's important, and when I start launching into those, "Oh, I'm not like this," which truly hasn't happened in a long time, but when I had those moments of going, "I want to be more like them," I would look to I would tune into my body to see how it felt. How did it make my heart feel? How did it make my body feel? Even just talking about this, my head's beginning to throb over here, so I need to stop thinking about that. We don't have to flashback. Um, and, if they don't feel good or true, like this right now, I can breathe into it. I can let it go. What is not my Kuleana. It's not my circus. It's not my monkeys. And you get to let it go. That for me has taken practice and taken time to do that. Um, and a lot of events. And so I get to replace them with other thoughts, with other beliefs.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you can definitely actively counteract and replace thoughts that are not for your highest good with thoughts that are.
Mhm.
You know, I had somebody tell me once, like, what, so I can be more like you? And my thought was, honey, you couldn't be me if you tried. And I don't want to be you either,
Mhm.
because I'm pretty content being who I am and what I do and everything about me. I don't need to be you. No one needs to be you except you.
Right.
So, when you catch yourself thinking these kinds of like, oh, I'm lacking in some way, it's like,
Mhm.
you're not. I mean, we all have a tendency to compare ourselves with other people.
Right.
And because that's part of the culture thing. We always like, can't you be more like them?
Yeah.
Or I wish I was more like them.
No,
I
no,
mean, we've all done that. I remember when I was growing up, my best friend was actually very fair skinned. And so for me, because I was on the darker side, I was like, man, like that was the thing, right? You wanted to be white, right? She actually wished she was more like me. And I was just like, okay. So in other words, like everybody has that
yeah.
or at some point we start off with the I'm not tall enough, I'm not short enough, I'm too this, I'm not enough of that. There's
Right.
always something.
Yeah.
Like there's no one who's perfect. I mean, I met someone she's like, I've been like super thin my whole life, and everybody goes, would somebody give this girl a hamburger. She needs to eat something, right? And at the other end of the spectrum where somebody's just like, here's a salad, right? Like you need to lose some weight, sister. And I'm like, but there's like, even if you were like height weight proportionate,
Mhm.
somebody somewhere will go, you're to this or not enough of that.
Right.
So you need to dispense with all that stuff,
Mhm.
because all that stuff, permeates and becomes a belief that you end up perpetuating for yourself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include all the stuff that you got from your parents, from your ancestors, from your past lives. I mean, you're carrying beliefs from you don't even know where. So it's to your benefit to dig into that, replace them, reframe them if you need to, in terms of, okay, I might not be perfect, but I am good with this for now. It's like it's not like it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. It can be like, well, yeah, this is not great and it's something that I need to work on, but for right now, I'm good. And when you start to hear these thoughts that come back, or you start to say things that you're like, yeah, I don't really want to say that, you can neutralize it and say, like, I know some, Susie has done the cancel, love, 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 to replace it. Lisa's done the or I'm gonna, whatever I sent out, let's just neutralize all that. um
Yeah.
and I've done I'm taking it all back, all that energy back, and giving it to the earth so that the earth can do something with it. And then I will send out love in its place. And that's how you replace certain things. And even when you are taking your beliefs out, you replace it with something better. That's
Yeah.
what you want to do. Like, because it's almost like you've left a little hole and you don't want to do that. So you want to, take that belief out, put something else better in. And yeah, and then we can and then you can see what kind of impact everything has on your life once you start doing that.
If I could interject that replacing is important because we talk about clearing and then filling in. I've been able to do that with one of my beliefs. I wish I could be more like Kai. I want it, and now I've learned to phrase it. Now I know. Don't fall out, but I want to learn more. I have shifted that belief to saying, I want to be like you, and that I want to have the motivation, that energy that Lisa has, or the knowledge that Kai has. There's a lot of things that I don't covet about you. It's just you've got things to teach me. And I think that's a really basic shift and replacement in how I believe in things now. And it has shifted the impact, right, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would like to piggyback off of, you talked about, the word coveting. I think if you replace that with admire, right? I admire,
David.
Kai's insight when it comes to journaling, different aspects of consciousness, or, you might admire my energy, or was it my energy or was it something else? 'Cause I was like, wait, what? You admire?
Motivation, energy, your business acumen. Do you have an hour for me to say this all?
I will make an hour for you. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I need some ego stroking right now, but
Yeah, please praise me for an hour, please.
yes.
Yeah, really, keep them coming. No, no, no. It's like keep them no, no.
Right. Oh, don't stop. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, Susie. Appreciate it.
You're watching the Mystic Mosaic podcast. Hit the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification bell to be notified when we upload another video. It helps YouTube share the episode with others who want to learn more about this topic. Let's get back into it.
Unfortunately, limiting beliefs can really impact your life. It can ravage your mental health, and it can definitely hinder your experience for growth and new opportunities. In so doing, they end up limiting what you think and believe is possible. And going back to the "I can't" statement, that's something my dad just kind of beat out of me as a kid. Let's find ways that you can. Or even by doing so, this dictates your action. This dictates, energy follows intent, right? So which way do you intend to move? It also affects whether you encourage or discourage someone else, because your limiting beliefs then can be shared upon someone else. So you want to be very mindful of that, right? Parents do it all the time to their kids. Siblings do it. Even friends do it. I can't tell you countless times growing up. I was the first one to do many things. It's not that I was a daredevil necessarily, but it was more that I wasn't necessarily a risk taker either, but I knew that I needed to get my driver's license because my motivation was to get the hell out of that tiny town as often as possible, right? So when I understand the impact of limiting beliefs, it's like, I can't get a license because I don't know how to drive, or I'm scared to drive, right? Figure that out, figure out what that looks like for you, and then get other people to help you overcome that and shift that energy, right? Have people share with you how to drive a car, things like that. So you can get to the priority, which is getting out of that tiny town in my case. That also sets the framework for growth and creates hard boundaries you can't pass. I know one of you wrote that in there. Would you like to share what you meant by that?
Well, I think that, when you have a belief, what you can do is like it actually can tell you like how far you can go with something. So for instance, like if you're a musician or something and you have this hidden belief that um musicians never amount to anything,
Mm.
then
Mhm.
that that automatically, like as hard as you work on something, that inhibits your ability to grow in terms of like, really embracing it as an art and going for it. It literally creates a hard boundary for you that you can't pass. And it
Mhm.
has nothing to do with your ability. It doesn't have anything to do with your equipment. It doesn't have anything to do with anything except that limiting belief that says musicians amount to nothing.
Right.
So these are the kinds of, these little, and that's the thing. People think of them as little beliefs.
Mhm.
It's like, and they're little tiny beliefs, but they have huge impact
Yeah.
on what you think you can do, what you think is possible, or
Mhm.
what you think you're capable of.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly limits a scope of possibilities if you have this
Yes.
belief. You talked about musicians, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're only old farts at the open mic nights. It's like, wait a minute.
Mm.
So calling me out on that one. Yeah, and because things can happen in a variety of ways. It's not just that one way you think it needs to happen. So when we talk about manifesting, it's going to be or better. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to share a quick, tiny limiting belief that I had, and I didn't realize it was one. It's a lot like that euphemism "burr under the saddle," right? You know, when you used to, when people go horseback riding, they make sure the horses are free from burrs and other things before they put the blanket on the saddle on. I remember in the 90s driving to work, and I'd be singing along in the car to the radio, and had this flash that, wouldn't it be fun to be a vocalist? Wouldn't it be fun? Because I have a music degree, but it's like, wouldn't it be fun to be a vocalist, and singing on the radio and having one of my songs come on? Wouldn't that be a joy? Then immediately I shut myself down and said, well, since they play the same 13 songs and we have at least 26 pop artists vying for, the top 10 spot, I wouldn't have a snowball's chance. That was in the 90s. That was in the 90s. What's happened since then? We've got cable, we've got satellite, we've got YouTube, we've got all kinds of other platforms for musicians to share their talent. So we implore you to rethink. If you think you can't do something, or if you think the industry isn't ready because of X, Y, and Z, there's always the future. There's always opportunity one day away or 1 year away. So if you love something and you want to do it, do it.
Like the episode so far? Tell us in the comments what you think about the episode as we move into taking your power back.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about taking your power back. We've been programmed before birth with energetic and subconscious languaging. Family dynamics play a large role into whether we believe we're worthy of success or there's not enough to go around. Unfortunately, these types of energetic programs can trap and sabotage us even before we get out of the gate. Some can't even open the gate because we're told that it's a dangerous world and will die once we set foot outside of that parameter. So anchoring yourself, as we spoke about earlier, in self-defeating beliefs disempower you and the people around you. This state of being will prevent growth and possible new opportunities. So what do? We take our power back step by step. We empower ourselves with contemporary tools and progressive paradigms, even if that means you have to look outside for ideal parental role models. The first step is awareness. At least you're aware of your circumstances and you're not going to remain in victimhood with self-defeating beliefs. The crux of the matter is this: if you feel you can't do something, others will too. Don't give away your power. Don't give others a reason to quietly dismiss you and disempower you. So a few common examples of limiting beliefs to recognize and correct in real time are very simply the "I'm not good enough," right? I'm not good enough to manage this project. You could reframe it and say, I'm not good enough yet, or I'm getting better at managing projects. Another one is, I'm too old or I'm too young. So for instance, I've heard this several times about people who want to write books. Interestingly enough, I knew a child who co-authored a book at 9. Hell, I even wrote a book at 9, and I totally forgot about that. I also learned that a friend of mine, her mother started writing books when she was 70 and wrote her last book at 90. So you're never too young and you are never too old. Also, same thing with like being on the board of directors, right? Ask yourself, what age do you think is appropriate to be on a board? And start dismantling that myth. Again, going back to the whole, I can't be a vocalist because there's not enough room on the radio stations to vie for, my song. think about the future. Think about how things were 10 years ago and how they might change 10 years from now, right? So that could really help navigate your ambition. So maybe that navigates your career into becoming a board member on a cause that you care most about, right? I had a very similar belief when I was in my 30s. I'm like, I'm too young to be a board member. Suddenly somebody's like, hey, Lise, can you help us redesign the website for, it was a pet rescue agency. And eventually within the year, I found myself as marketing chair on their board. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not too young to be on the board of directors. Another one is about time, as in, I don't have enough time to invest in myself. Remember, everything has priority in your life, and you rank it according to what that priority means to you, right? So if starting a business is my priority, I might make time to invest it in myself, even if that means 1 hour a night. Because if I want a business, I need to start learning what that means to me and what it takes to build a business. I'm not smart enough. This is really interesting. This starts to lead into imposter syndrome. So if you feel like you're not smart enough to, let's say, lead a meeting, ask your supervisor, what does it take to create structured, effective meetings? And then, of course, I don't have enough experience, right? I don't have enough experience to do this. Start inquiring on the steps that you need to take to gain experience in that field, or in your career or your business, or as a spiritual metaphysical practitioner. Figure out what it takes. There's a lot of people here in the community you can ask to figure out, what steps does it take for me to become a medium or a shaman, things like that. We've got so many people here that are so happy to talk to you about what that means to them and what it can mean for you too. So my advice to you is to start looking into reasons to bust that myth that you hold close to your chest. Make it your mission to bust myths to help empower you to reframe your beliefs. It will transform your world and create ripple effects in your community.
Yeah. So the other thing that we wanted to point out in here is that the concept that I use, it's Hawaiian, it's called kuleana, and it means responsibility. And in this case, what happens with a lot of people is that they take responsibility for others' thoughts, others' feelings, others' whatever, and, you know, shape their lives according to it. And so, what we want to introduce here at this time is for you to understand that what other people think, how other people feel, are not your kuleana. They're not your responsibility. You don't need to protect them from anything, because they have to learn to do things for themselves. And whatever changes you make can affect other people. They can affect how other people think, how they feel, all that kind of stuff. But how they react and how they choose to react to those changes are not your responsibility.
Mhm.
So if you have a belief that, that you can't sing or something, and then you decide to change that belief and work on that, and other people around you are like, yeah, we don't think you should be spending your time on singing, you need to get a job or whatever it is. um you know you can you can just acknowledge that they have those opinions, but you don't have to take them in, and you don't have to make them part of your priority list, because however they feel, whatever they think, whatever they choose to do is not your responsibility. And so when you're doing this work, keep that in mind, that you have your own priority list, things that are important to you.
Mhm.
Whether that be I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for myself, I'm doing this for the world, whatever your motivation is fine. But however other people choose to react to that, or, it's just not your thing. There was a phrase that I had heard some years ago. It's like, whatever people think about you is none of your business.
Right.
Right. Right.
And
The one thing
so,
I'd learned,
yeah.
one thing I learned when I was taking corporate whatever courses was that somebody gives you input, and you can say, my, isn't that interesting? And that helped me to detach quite a bit. And somebody else, an actor, would say, thank you for the input. It helps you to separate from that belief, from that somebody trying to get into your own chili about it, and you can shift it and move it on. I think that's a really good first step. So
Yeah,
thanks
I
for
had a
letting me
friend
interrupt.
I had a friend who used to go, "Well, thanks for sharing." And she would just leave it at that.
Thanks for your perspective. Yeah.
I
Yeah, but
guess
she was
that's
always
better than, excuse me, I have to go scream now.
she
I
was
just
like,
threw
"Thanks
up
for
a little
sharing."
bit in my mouth.
Yeah, it's like, oh. Yeah, she used to be like, "Well, thanks for sharing." And then she would just roll right she would roll right on. I'm like, "Oh, I like that."
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So
All
we've
right,
got a
so
lot of
we're
techniques and
yeah.
ideas for shifting these beliefs. Lisa, I'm gonna let you take it first.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, the first thing I want to say is don't give up. Never give in when limiting beliefs arise. Remember, you're not alone. And I mean, everyone has them. Everyone. Mother Teresa had them. There are a number of athletes, musicians, politicians, everybody. We all have them. So, just be mindful that you're not alone. We're in this together. I learned to persevere through mine and not let it chain me. And I found ways around those beliefs that allowed me to make some of my dreams come true. I want to shift gears here for a second and get into the nerd alert and talk about the brain just a little bit. Journaling is a fun way to deconstruct those limiting beliefs and then fill in something new with an affirmation. But what's interesting is that the best way to change your limiting beliefs is through the subconscious. So, how do we do that? We can hack our subconscious using our brain waves. There are 5 types of brain waves frequencies, but I only want to talk about the 2 that we're interested in the moment. That's the beta and the alpha wave frequencies. Beta waves, those are our conscious mind, right? This is when we're busy, we're active state of awareness, we're working, doing things like that. And then there's also the alpha wave. That's the gateway to the subconscious. So now, during the day, as we transition our daily activity into sleep, we find ourselves in an in-between state. We're physically and mentally relaxing. We're awake, but we're drowsy. And that's when the relaxing state is when we start to encourage those alpha waves. And the best time to hack that subconscious to replace our limiting beliefs is during that alpha wave state. And this occurs first thing in the morning or last thing just before you go to sleep while you're in bed. And then we can also accomplish this through meditation. Hacking our brain waves to replace limiting beliefs during this alpha state is key. Again, like I said, it's the gateway to the subconscious. So if you want expanded mental clarity and reduced anxiety, this is the best time to reprogram your limiting beliefs and transform your life. Now, we talked about reframing and replacing our limiting beliefs earlier. Once you unveil a certain limiting belief that you have, figure out what script you want to replace it with. So, for instance, if you're overwhelmed by too much to do, you could write, I don't know where to start, so I avoid it. You could rewrite it to say, I will find clarity as I begin taking action, or I can confidently take action and things will become clearer, or I will find inspiration to take me to the next step, or I embrace challenges with ease. Feel free to experiment and write out a few versions that feel good to you. Test and iterate your new affirmation. Put it on a sticky note and place it on your computer, or write it on your mirror or beside your bedside table. Put it wherever you can see it. I've done this. And what I've noticed in about 5 to 7 days, I feel much better because it has integrated into my psyche as I see, various post-it notes sitting here for reminders and affirmations and things like that. It's been remarkable. So I would invite you to try doing the same thing. How about you, Kai? Reframing?
Yeah, I actually do some reframing in that when I catch myself thinking about, like, oh, I can't do that. And it's just like, no, I might not be able to do it the way I think I want to do it, but there is a way to still get it done. So it's a matter of like catching yourself and thinking of it in a different way. Like, allowing your brain to embrace another option.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
sometimes when you have a belief, it's like it's black and white, like this is what it is and it doesn't change.
Mhm.
But really, it can change. For instance, if you're trying to move a box that's really heavy, yes, you can pick it up and you can move it from one spot to another. Or you could slide it across the floor,
Mhm.
or somebody else could carry it for you, or you could put it in something and roll it across the floor to, you know what I mean? In other words, like there are many, many ways to get from point A to point B to accomplish something.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be that specific way that you believe. So a lot of the reframing has to do with whenever a belief pops up, for you to go, just to look at it and just say like, is that really true?
Mhm.
Like if you have a belief that you cannot like climb the side of a building, well, that's a good one, but there are some people who can do that.
Mhm.
So does that mean it's not possible? No, that just means it's not likely, but that doesn't put it in the realm of impossibility.
Right.
And and a lot of times that's what beliefs do, is they make you think that this is impossible. It
Mhm.
will never be reached. It will never be accomplished. It will never happen. And in reality, that is not true. So if you catch yourself thinking these things, reframe it to something that at least allows for an option to be presented, that will help a lot.
Mhm.
Especially if you're in the process of searching for your beliefs and you can't quite find them yet. This is a technique that you can use kind of in the interim until you can actually get to the base belief, to remove it and then replace it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can also reclaim. You're reclaiming your power. Beliefs, oh God, they can just sap your power away.
Mhm.
And there is a ritual that I learned from Chris Erickson. Can't find the book link. Sorry, y'all. But Chris Windwalker Erickson lines out this very not complicated, but a very solemn ritual in which she reclaims power for someone. And for my use, um, what I have done and what I ask clients to do is to put themselves in a place of authority, a place of power. So whether you're up on a raised platform or in, your throne, whatever kind of chair, any kind of place, any kind of environment that makes you feel empowered. We're not looking for lightning coming out of your hands, but someplace where you feel comfortable and powerful unto yourself. I also encourage you to put a dome of protection around it, because what you're going to release, you don't want it to get out there. So, yeah, your basic energy clearing and then filling in, but you're standing there, sitting there in a place of power. And whatever it is, and you place in front of you, whatever it is that has taken your power, whether it is a person, a place, a thing, an event, a belief, and you look at it and you say as powerful as you can, what was it you said? Get out. And if you don't get out, I'm going to make you go out. Was that what you said earlier, Kai, in our conversation?
Yeah, it was, well, I think it was Lisa who said it's just, like, you
Oh,
get out or I'll make you get out.
okay. So that's what you're doing with this thing that has been draining your power from you. Give me back my energy. And here's your energy. So you are reclaiming your own energy and returning the energy that is not in resonance with you. So I've used that with a lot of success for myself. Sometimes you have to yell, sometimes you have to use the words, but it is, in fact, a way for you to replace, to regain your power, your energy from something else. And that helps you to navigate more fully within your life. So when you're shedding those beliefs and filling in with others that are more empowering, that's the point of everything we're talking about today.
Mhm.
Yeah. One more additional point to that is, when I've done something like that in the past, is it's like, yeah, here I am and it's over there. And there's actually like a screen in between us, that when I take my power back, it filters, like it goes through the screen like it's being cleaned, so
Ooh,
that I only get
Good,
clean energy
good.
back. And
ooh,
when I send their energy back, they also get clean energy, so
hmm,
that way there's literally no connection when it's done.
wow.
That's brilliant. There's another thing I've used, I am I, and you are you, and in between us is God. Sometimes there's a whole lot of God in there, or source, or love, or whatever. But that's another way to cut yourself off. But yeah, we can move on now.
Yeah, so before we get into the Tarot Oracle card spread, we hope you've enjoyed our chat about the power of thoughts and beliefs and expanded your awareness to help you take your next steps. If there's a topic you would like us to cover in the future, let us know. Please consider supporting us on this journey by picking up my Think, Feel, Believe, Manifest Law of Attraction journal with prompts at handsonfire.buzz. Get your copy of Lisa's 2023 calendar planner that includes mindset tools at co-create magic.com. And don't forget to listen to Susie's amazing podcasts at bluelightninghealing.com. Now let's get on to the tarot spread.
No,
Woo!
I want to interject. There's a limiting belief that I need to break, which is I can't write a book. So
I think you
We're gonna
can.
we're gonna work on that. We're
Ask
gonna
your
work on that.
community. Yep.
yep,
Ask your
yep,
community.
yep.
Okay.
Okay, and now let's segue so easily into the tarot spread.
All right. So, who wants a tarot spread? We should probably Charlie's Angels this, put ourselves in a silhouette.
Pew, pew, pew. Your cards.
All right.
Got
So, this is what I want you all to do if you want to deconstruct a limiting belief. I want you to write that limiting belief down on a piece of paper, your journal, maybe in my planner too, if you'd like. And this is going to be a 3-card spread. So choose your favorite tarot, your favorite oracle, or favorite playing deck. I don't care. Grab one. We're going to go through 3 questions. The first question is, why do I believe this is true? The second question is, what can I do to erase this as truth? And the third one is, what can I replace as my truth? What I would love if you want to share your reveal in the comments section. We would love for that. I understand if you don't, but play along. We'd love to see the activity happening in the comment section.
I feel picture uploads are coming along, are
right.
going to happen. Yeah, go ahead and upload it. And we do appreciate you watching us and listening with us today. Yeah, thanks for watching. And until next time, stay grounded, shielded, and magical.